הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים ואחיות שרק רוצים לחיות, להיות להבות התקוות בעיניים פתוחות, בידיים אוהבות ומקבלות ובידיעה שכולנו משפחה באמונה שתוכנו יש מקום גדול לאהבה כשהמים זורמים הם אותנו מובילים מרומים מצבעים כי אמא שלי הוא מה שלך זוהי דרך חדשה כשהשמש עולה על כולנו מהירה אז עוד שנייה הנה זה בא כמו הנשמה נשמה נשימה אני מבקש, כך ניתן מצב רוח לעלות ונתייאש כשהשן עליי דוהר, בוער, אני לא מהר, לא סופר על העבר מוותר, מרגיש את הרגע, פוגע במציאות, נוגע שופע לא גורע ותמיד יודע שאם לא נפחד, הראש יתחדד לא ניפרד, נתאחד כי אמא שלי ומה שלך זוהי דרך חדשה כשהשמש עולה על כולנו מהירה אז עם הפחד בצד שבט אחים ואחיות מאוחד הנה for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and
שברחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שברחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שברחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב שבט אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבט אחים גם יחד הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבט אחים גם יחד Shabbat Shalom. Shana Tova. Again, yeah.
Some more.
Did everybody have a wonderful holiday season? Good New Year. Who still stays up to watch the ball drop? You do?
We were up till 2.
I was up till 9.
Till 9?
Till 9, yeah.
AM or PM?
PM.
We're the oldies. You're not supposed to do
Do you remember having young children running around?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
For those of you who are on live stream, Vic Van Leeuwen just apologized for me having children, so I went to bed at 9 o'clock.
I apologize for what's going along with that.
I know. No, we embrace the moment of sleep. And if you go on YouTube and stuff, you can watch the ball drop at any time you want now. So, but it was very weird because like I really genuinely feel like I've just experienced the longest weekend ever because having the holidays like smack dab in the middle of the week made like yesterday feel like Sunday for me and Saturday and I don't know like I'm glad that my phone told me that I needed to be here at 7 o'clock. But it is wonderful for us to be back together here on the very, very first Shabbat of our secular new year. And we welcome Shabbat with our warmth and community and in prayer. And we do so by beginning with our Shabbat candles and lighting our Shabbat candles on page 120, 121. I'd like to invite up Anne Van Leeuwen to help lead those prayers. Read one of these first, and then then I'll light.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who we behold. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who kindled light, so may we, in our own way, be among those who kindle light.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai God, sovereign of the universe, who powers us with mitzvot and commands us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Amen. Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom. You're more than welcome.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. So, one of these weeks, so first of all, when you go on vacation and you have like clarity for the first time in a while, you know what naturally happens to you? You need to fill up the space. So naturally, I had conversations with myself of like, what are all these different things that I can do? And one Shabbat, I don't know when, but one Shabbat, I really want us to just do Kabbalat Shabbat only. Because this is the Shabbat service ultimately on a Friday evening. This is what makes everything unique. And within these melodies, within these psalms, we are supposed to experience this act of creation in the days leading up to Shabbat. And when we talk about Kabbalat Shabbat, we talk about receiving Shabbat, welcoming Shabbat. And in every single one of these psalms and prayers that we do, it is about praising God. It is about blessing God. But there's also something about it, about these melodies or these psalms that we overlook. It is all about singing. It's all about using our voices. And when we use our voices, we're able to connect with each other. We're sometimes even able to connect with ourselves. And we're able to connect with God in this intimate relational way. So we begin Kabbalat Shabbat with words from Psalm 95. Lechuna Ranana, page 130. Ranina, lehuna ranina, lehuna ranina, ladonai. Lehuna ranina, lehuna ranina, lehuna ranina, ladonai. Naria, naria, litzor yishenu, likat mafa, nahapitoda. Naria, naria, litzor yishenu, Naria Lehuni Ranina, Lehuni Ranina, Lehuni Ranina, Ladonai. Lehuni Ranina, Lehuni Ranina, Lehuni Ranina, Ladonai. So, last Friday, we had gotten back home from our trip in Nashville. And it was like 4:30, it was starting to get dark. And the kids had been riding their bikes to the playground that's in our neighborhood. And Nana and Papa have been in town. And it was Friday night, and it was very weird because I usually am on the beam. But it was Friday night, the kids get home, I hear them in the garage. Ellie opens the door first. And I said, "Look, the Shabbos bride has arrived." And naturally, Jonah said, "No, it was just Ellie." But what that moment reminds me of is that there is something about being eager to encounter God, eager to embrace the divine. And when we have L'chadodi, we express that eagerness in which the divine is reconnected with all of us and the divine becomes one. So with that in mind, we continue with L'chadodi, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9 on page 138 and 139. Right after verse 9, we will gather together to greet each other and wish each other a Shabbat Shalom, and then we will come back together. Page 138, 139. La 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 hadodi, la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 pnei Shabbat nikah avela hadodi, la 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 likrat kala, la 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 pnei Shabbat nikah avela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad hishmiyanu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad v'shemo tiferet v'litilah la la ya la 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 l'chadodi, la 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 likrat kala, la 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 pnei Shabbat nikah vela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mikol haberacha mirosh mikeh משוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תפילה. יאי לי לי, דה לה 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 לי לך דודי, יא לה 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 לי לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 לי פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. Verse 5, התעוררי, התעוררי, כי ואורך קומי אורי, אורי, שדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. יאי לי לי, יא לה 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 לי לך דודי, יא לה 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 לי לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 לי פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום, עצרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובסהולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לה 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 לקראת כלה, לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. There has been one person, you were so close, Frank, to getting it right, too. We rise for Baruch, page 146. Yes. That was good. Frank was like, he was preparing. Oh. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? La 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 la. Get a lie, lie, lie. 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 Baruch Please be seated. So, we'll talk a little bit about this tonight during my sermon as well as tomorrow during Torah study, but we are approaching the end of the book of Genesis. Next week, we are done with the book of Genesis. And if there are two words that could describe the book of Genesis, what do you think it would be? If you could think of two words to describe Genesis, only two words. Well, that's a different way than I thought. That I was thinking of two separate words, but our story, that works. That works. Beginnings. Freedom.
Sheer chaos. Family strife.
Creation. Covenant. The book of Genesis is all about creation. Creation of the world, creation of relationships, creation of ways to live, creation of sibling rivalry, creation of dreams, creation of ... Covenant. There's three things that we were promised: land, progeny, and wealth. It's all about the covenant. If we stick with God, we will be rewarded. But there's something really, really unique about this. Covenant was created as well. It was shaped, it was formed. And what was unique about covenant was, in the formal acts of creation, how were things created? God said it, and it was so, right? God couldn't say, here is the covenant, and made it so. God didn't have that ability. Because it was the very first time in which there was something reciprocal that needed to happen. God said, here's a covenant, and it was humanity that said, and now it's so. It's the first time in which that relationship was formed. So when we talk about the love of God through the giving of Torah, we talk about how for the very, very first time, God and man, or God and humanity, come together and they create something really, really special. Ahavat Olam can be found on page 150. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amecha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, u'kimu mishpatim, otanu limadta, otanu limadta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbenu, kumenu nasiach berukecha, v'nizmach b'divrei toratecha, uv'mitzvotecha leolam va'ed, ki hem hayenu, ve'olech yameinu, uvahem neke yomam v'layla, neke yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatcha al tasir, imenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, ohev amo Yisrael. Please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'chayu advarim ha'ele asher nochi mitzavecha hayom levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam lehot al yadecha v'chayu letotafot beinenecha וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני Adonai Elohechem. So I'm going to talk about a little bit in my sermon how we've already begun the year with fear. Why? We have the attack in New Orleans. We have what happened in Vegas. Immediately. And it's not necessarily the thing that I want to see when I wake up in the morning on January 1st. But there are so many things that we carry. And the question that we face is, what are the things that we need to let go? And when we think about freedom, and when we think about redemption, and when we think about this moment in our narrative in which our ancestors celebrated and danced their way for freedom, they were carrying a lot as well. They were carrying the fears, whether it be of what if Pharaoh and the Egyptians could get them? What if life that was promised to them wouldn't be as good? What if ... But there was this moment in which they really tried to let go. And this was their song of letting go. Michamocha, page 158. Ya baba bim bim bam, ya baba bim bam, ya baba bim bim bam, ya baba bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya baba bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya baba bim bam, mi chamocha bailim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar bakodesh, Torah Did you know that it's going to be like freezing in Florida even next week? Did you see this? Like Florida, like we don't know what to do with winter weather. I think Florida might have like a state of emergency. But it's going to get really, really, really cold. And when this time of year comes around, number one, Michelle and I always ask ourselves, do we have gas to run a fireplace? And we've learned that there is actually a gas line to our fireplace, and it just hasn't been activated. And I don't know why, but we don't have a functioning fireplace right now. But we all like to bundle up. And I'm one to personally I don't like winter in the sense of it gets dark really, really quickly, but I do like winter in the sense that you can dress in layers. And you get all warm and snuggled up, and you feel safe. And the moment that you take off your glove in the cold weather, what happens? You start feeling that sense of coldness. And then you take off your jacket, and then what happens? You get cold, and you start shivering. You take off your little hat with the little beanie on it. For me, I feel a rush of air go on the top of my head, and I say, I wish I had hair to keep me warm, but that's beside the point. Things come in layers. Hashkivenu is a prayer about layers of comfort. What are the things in our lives that give us comfort? What are those moments that give us warmth? What are those moments in which we can find protection? Because when we're able to do those things, when we're able to identify that we have that sense of love, that sense of comfort, that sense of protection, we're able to go to bed. We're able to fall asleep, and then we're able to wake up and it be a new day for us to face the world as it presents itself in that moment. So may all of us find the ability to be comforted, and may all of us embrace those layers of comfort that exist in our lives. Hashkivenu, page 160. Hashkivenu Adonai העמידנו שומרנו לחיים, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. ושמור צאתנו לחיים ושלום, ואתה ועד עולם. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים. We rise as we continue our age-old conversation with God with words of the Amidah. We will chant those first words, Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, together, and then we will continue praying silently until page 180. Please rise, page 164. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Page 180. Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Oyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Oyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav, Oyaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol יושבי תבל ואמרו Amen. On the Shabbat, we turn our thoughts to those loved ones in need of healing, of body, of mind, of spirit. May our voices be heard and give them a sense of strength and peace and comfort. We think of Stephen Giller, Charlie and Sarah Crocker, Natalie Wallach, Margaret Ann Goldsmith, Al Jupiter, Judy Kunitz, Ken Rhodes, Joy Suskin, Lynn Weil, Sue Chatham, Sarah Ballin, Michelle Shochet, Charles Simon, Robert Berman, Doug Castellano, Suzanne Horsley, Charlie Appleby, Wayne Copeland, Eileen Linton, Joan May, Jane Altschuler, Dee Berkowitz, Sharon Schuff, Rebecca Stewart, and Renata Limmer. If there is a name that you would like to add on this Shabbat for our prayer for healing, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. Baruch atah Adonai rofei et hakol. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings forth healing to all those who need it most. Page 371. Misheberach avotenu b'kor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu b'kor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirits, and let us say Amen. We continue on page 377 with the prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu shebashamayim, tzor Yisrael b'goalo, barech et medinat Yisrael reshit tzmichat geulatenu, hagein alecha be'avrat hastecha, ufros alea sukat shlomecha, ushlach orcha v'amitcha l'rashecha sarecha v'yotzecha, v'takneim be'etzah tova milfanecha, v'natata shalom ba'aretz v'simchat olam liyoshveva v'nomar. Amen. We read in the English together. O Heavenly One, so there is a minhag, a custom, at Central Synagogue in New York City that every single week, in addition to turning our thoughts to those loved ones who are in need of healing, in addition to thinking of the state of Israel, in addition to remembering the names of those loved ones who are no longer with us, there is always room to find joy in celebration. So, and we've done this a handful of times. And I feel like that as we begin the new year, we should consider reminding ourselves of all those things that we're happy about. The big things, the little things, the things in between, whether it be a birthday or an anniversary, or you got a new car, or one of your children or grandchildren did something really, really cool, or anything of that matter deserves to be celebrated, and we call these moments Shehechianu moments. So wait, before, sorry, I apologize. That was beautiful though. Before we get to before we actually sing the Shehechianu, I want to hear if we have Shehechianu moments. Ron and I talked about how my brain is still on vacation, and so we need to get my brain back in gear. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. All right, let's celebrate. Anything good in your life? Anything good? Anything that you want to be able to celebrate with the congregation? Yes, Eli.
I got two of them, actually.
Okay.
If you don't know, on the 18th of last month, my brother and his wife had a little girl.
Yay.
I spent the last week and a half with them. She's really cute. Promise, she knows it.
I have a daughter. They definitely know it.
Yeah. On top of that, next Monday is my 30th birthday.
Yay. Mazel tov. Any other thing to celebrate? Yes.
I just moved into a new apartment that doesn't have mold in it.
Oh, gosh. She moved into an apartment that doesn't have mold. Now, was it a new apartment in the same complex?
No, I was living in a duplex. We still have a lease for another 2 months, but we had to get out.
Where are you now living?
We're living in Estella.
Very nice.
So, as far as we know, it doesn't have mold, and it's got an extra 250 square feet to spare.
May you enjoy the extra 250 square feet and the lack of asbestos. Other things to celebrate.
We have a new daughter-in-law and 2 stepdaughters.
There you go, Mazel tov.
Granddaughters, I call them.
There you go. What else to celebrate? Frank?
I have a great-granddaughter with Hanukkah candles for the first time this year.
Very nice. Other things to celebrate.
I got all 50 of our New Year's cards sent out.
That's a big deal. It's a big deal. Well, all of these things are worth celebrating, and especially in our lives where we're so caught up in it all, taking the time to shift our mindset and recognize the good, no matter how big or small that those things are, is always important. So I invite the congregation to rise. And now, Ron, we do Shehechianu. Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh Please be seated. So there's a story that Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi used to share about a poor peasant schlepping along the road with his heavy pack. Along comes a nobleman who invites the peasant to ride his carriage, and the poor man gratefully steps into the carriage, still holding his heavy bag on his shoulder. He can't or won't let it go. The nobleman suggests, "You're riding in the carriage anyways. Why don't you put down your pack?" "It's enough," the peasant replies, "that you're carrying with me. Why should you carry my pack as well?" This tail is a metaphor for perhaps our relationship with God. If we are already in the carriage, that is the world, why do we carry our burdens with us? Why don't we just put them down and let God give us a ride? So I mentioned earlier that we carry a lot with us into this new year. We have hopes, we have dreams, we have possibilities, we have promises. But in some ways, this new year has been already clouded by news that tells us about attacks in New Orleans, Cybertruck explosions in Vegas. And once again, there's this little sense of fear that is expanding and gnawing at my gut. There was a study that was recently published by Chapman University. And here's what they had to say. Americans are afraid more than any other time in recent history. And of those factors that led to those fears, they listed government corruption, terrorism, war, and financial instability as the top fears. And in some ways, fear always seems to be a driver of how we relate to the world around us. And these fears actually have an effect that writer Robert Wright talks about in his book Non-Zero. This effect is shrinking our moral imagination into a zero-sum cycle where to be right is to win and where to be wrong is to lose. So when fear elides with that zero-sum thinking, hatred creeps in. Enmity impedes upon our ability to comprehend each other, and our imagination shrinks to accommodate our fear. It's a natural process that was one that evolved from hunter-gatherer societies and helps navigate a dangerous world, especially one in which the primitive people had little control over. I think that the story of our history, though, of religion especially, is to push back against our fear. Because imagination is the greatest gift that is given to each of us. It's the cornerstone of religious thought, that God dreamed of a world to not be radically alone. And it's our imagination, our dreams, our hopes, our aspirations that make us human and God's partners. God is always asking us in the Torah to imagine a world that is different from the one that we find ourselves in. Imagine a world of freedom, a world of redemption, a world free of errors and hatred, a world filled with peace. Now, other creatures were given gifts of fashioning homes and tools. We're the only creature, this only living being, that has been given the gift of imagination to fashion a future. So if we are to excel, we have to overcome the fear that is natural within us, and that shrinks our imagination. We must find a way to reclaim that part of our faith that is expansive in our understanding of each other and of the world. To look beyond that zero sum and push out our moral imagination and into the future. The key to all of this is love. And in the book of I was going to say Deuteronomy, but that would have not been right. In the book of Genesis, we see this process of expanding love and shrinking fear, almost like a moral accordion throughout. We have the first stepbrothers, Ishmael and Isaac, who are separated on the account of Sarah's fear, but God steps in to ensure that both receive blessings. We learn that when Isaac is older, Jacob and Esau quarrel over birthright and covenant, And we know that Jacob ran away from home out of fear for his life, and Esau weeping, asking for his blind father if he could also have a blessing. Later, it was the anger and zero-sum thinking that drives Jacob's sons to kidnap Joseph and sell him into slavery. And we learn time and again that every time in Genesis there is violence, it's because the moral imagination of the human mind has shrunk out of fear. So in our Torah portion this week, Vayigash, we find a moment of sublime and crucial expansion, one that perhaps saves the fate of the first family. We find the family that is split between Canaan and Egypt. Joseph is still under a hidden identity as the vizier of Egypt, Pharaoh's number 2, and he is demanded that the other brothers bring Benjamin from their homestead to him. Terrified, we learn that Judah speaks to Joseph, saying that their father has endured so much tragedy and that the love for Benjamin is passionate. Nafsho kishora ben nafsho, his soul is bound to the soul of his son. Love is the binding of souls together. And it's this one moment of empathy and expansiveness of love that changes everything. Up until this point, Joseph wanted to blame Benjamin or set Benjamin up for stealing a goblet. Up until this point, Joseph wanted to give the just desserts to his brother. But Judah is asking Joseph to do something that they could not. Expand the moral imagination, overcome the fear, the pain, and the zero-sum thinking of winners and losers. And our rabbis add context to Judah's plea by pointing out that the brothers are wrongly accused of stealing the goblet. And in that context, Judah asked a deeper question of Joseph. In essence, saying, love connects all of us, including the sinners and the saints. Don't break up the bonds of love. And it's this moment of expansion in which Joseph is finally broken. Because for all of the distance and the fear and the winning and the losing the brothers had towards one another, this plea for expanding his moral imagination, a call towards divinity, takes away this fear that Joseph had, so much so that he no longer could contain himself. And he's crying. He's weeping. And he looks at his brothers and he says, I am your brother Joseph. Is my father alive and well? If fear begets fear, then love begets love. Love, then, is the key to overcoming our fear of each other and our fear of ourselves. The expansion of our imagination and our dreams to dream, not only for ourselves, but for others, I think is the lesson of Joseph and of Genesis. For this first book ends where it begins. The battle of love over fear and in the contraction of the self so that we can expand ourselves. So in all of these days of chaos, all of us have the divine power of imagination to overcome fear, to find our love, to look out at the darkness and create life, and realize that all of us are nafsho kishura benafsho, bound together in love. Shabbat shalom. At this moment, we transition as we turn our thoughts to those loved ones who are no longer with us, but will forever remain in our heart and in all that we do. As a congregation, we remember Mona Berliner and Sandra Schwartz, these loved ones who have recently passed. as well as the anniversaries of those who passed away at this time in years past. James Bayer, Max Theodore Hone, David Harris, Edith Ida Farber-Levy, Geraldine Brown Dotery, Sandra Blackard Levin, Bobby Miller, Leo Maurice Cohen, Millie Kirstein, Teddy Katz, David Reeves, Thomas Anderson, David Miller, Jane Wouncaster, and Michael M. Dembo. If there is a name that you would like to add on this Shabbat, I invite you to do so as my eyes meet yours. Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of each and every person that we have named before an enduring blessing, supporting those who mourn and in the memory of the martyrs of our people. We rise together as Kaddish is recited on page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, b'gala uv'izman kari v'yimru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'rechu, le'ala min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace and peace to those who mourn. May the source of comforts and comfort to all those who are bereaved, in which we say, Amen. Please be seated. Couple announcements. Early next week, keep your eye out in your inboxes for our program guide for the second half of the year. We have a lot of exciting things happening. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Torah study. And next Friday, we are having a belated First Friday. It's going to be a comfort food Shabbat. If we have some volunteers who are bringing chili, but if you want to volunteer to also bring chili, contact Abby in the office. We're going to need help bringing salads and cornbread and whatnot. Stephen Carini and I are going to be doing services together, and that'll be really, really nice. And please RSVP to Abby by Monday, January 13th for our book club that we're going to be starting in Prayer Book Hebrew. There have been some emails about our programming. We're going to be doing a book club once a month. The first one is Monday, January 13th from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Lunch and Learn. The book is On Being Jewish Now, Reflections from Authors and Advocates by Zibby Owen. As well as on the 14th, we're going to begin a Prayer Book Hebrew class at 7 o'clock p.m. on Zoom. And it'll be an opportunity for us to not only focus on being able to read some of the major prayers that we do during services, but also focus on meaning and purpose and dive into some of that as well. But as I said, there's a lot of good stuff coming, and we're excited to begin the year off together. Other announcements that I'm forgetting.
The book club book is very good.
The book club book is very, very good.
Well into it.
Next week, I'm going to send out somewhat of a guide of these are some of the passages that I really want people to pay attention to, because I know that it might be hard to read the entire book. And here are some reflection questions to consider as we prepare for our time together, and that'll be really nice. If that is the case, we are going to come back to the sweetness of our lives as we do Kiddush and our Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei puri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodsho, b'ahava uv'ratzon hinhilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zeh letziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'harta v'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uv'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. If you are young at heart, and want to do motzi with me, there we go. It is very exciting. It is, well, there's always a little bit of a, this is fun. All right, hands in. All right, when our powers combined. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Take some challah.
Okay, who's going to do the Robbie poll?
I just want to know why, if you want my hand seated or unseated.
You got it?
I got it.
Great.
See, even anybody at any age can join the rabbi on the bima for the football huddle motzi. That's good, Hala. We might have to wait like 2 more minutes before we do our closing song because now I'm chewing. Huh? Ron, do you want some challah?
I'll have some when we're done. Thank you. Good idea.
We don't want Ron to be feeling crummy when he plays.
But
Or the piano to be crummy. I'll be here all year. We are going to conclude with words of Shalom Rav on page 178. Please rise. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon leho hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon leho hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם. Shabbat Shalom.
How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. שבת אחים ואחיות שרק רוצים לחיות, להיות להבות, התקוות בעיניים פתוחות, בידיים אוהבות ומקבלות, ובידיעה שכולנו משפחה, באמונה שתוכנו יש מקום גדול לאהבה. כשהמים זורמים הם אותנו מובילים, מרומים מצבעים, כי מה שלי הוא מה שחזוי, דרך חדשה כשהשמש עולה על כולנו מהירה. אז עוד שנייה, הנה זה בא, כמו הנשמה, נשמה, נשימה. אני מבקש, כך ניתן מצב רוח לעלות ונתייאש. כשהשן עליי דוהר, בוער, אני לא מהר, לא סופר על העבר, מוותר, מרגיש את הרגע, פוגע במציאות, נוגע, שופע, לא גורע, ותמיד יודע שאם לא נפחד, הראש יתחדד, לא ניפרד, נתאחד, כי מה שלי הוא מה שחזוי, דרך חדשה כשהשמש עולה על כולנו מהירה. אז עם הפחד בצד, שבת אחים ואחיות מאוחד. הנה, הנה, pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters to come together in peace and in unity. How good and how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters